Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today, the top 10 outrageously dumb Darwin Award winners. When Charles Darwin studied the process of evolution in the 1800s, he realized that animals have a selective breeding process that he called natural selection. Animals who were born with a predisposition to survive longer in their environment were the ones to survive and mate with another, passing on their DNA. Because of this, the species became faster, stronger, and more likely to thrive in the environments in the next generation. So now you might be wondering, well, does the rule of natural selection also apply to humans? Well, it turns out that yes, natural selection happens every single day. There are people who have done things so incredibly stupid they actually died. This ensures that their DNA will never be passed on to the next generation. The internet has come together to gather these stories and dub these people the winners of a Darwin Award. In case you were wondering, it may not surprise you to learn that male Darwin Award winners outnumber women 7-1, and out of any country in the world, the United States has the most winners by far. Number 10. Say cheese. There is no denying that people are far too distracted by their cell phones, and texting and driving has become a very real issue. However, selfies have become a leading source of death in recent years. There have been hundreds of selfie-related deaths since the creation of the smartphone, usually people trying to pose near the edge of a cliff, on railroad tracks, or on a balcony. One story of such a death is British tourist Dean Steele. He was visiting Germany and wanted to take a selfie on the Autobahn highway. The Autobahn is famous for having no speed limit, so cars can drive as fast as they want. Usually, during the day, there is far too much traffic on the road for people to take advantage of this perk, so most of the speeding is done at night when the roads are clear. This is exactly when Steele decided it would be a good idea to take a selfie in the middle of the highway, and, well, he promptly got hit by a car driving at full speed. Number 9. Mystery liquid. In 2012, a man named Gary Allen Banning was visiting a friend's house for a party in North Carolina. He spotted a salsa jar with a mysterious golden liquid in it, and he decided to take a swig of what he assumed was someone else's drink. It turns out that the jar was filled with gasoline that the friend had been using to clean up grease. As the friends had a good laugh, Banning spat out the gasoline and got it all over his clothes. Apparently, Banning needed to take the edge off what had just happened, so he pulled out his lighter and started smoking a cigarette. The gasoline on his clothes and mouth ignited into flames. Banning was rushed to the hospital, but he eventually died from burning alive. Number 8. Window pane. In 1993, an attorney named Gary Hoy was working on the 24th floor of the TD Centre in Toronto, Canada, for the Holden Day Wilson law firm. The windows in the building were known for being unbreakable, and Hoy loved to joke around by throwing himself at the glass to prove it. A group of law students was visiting the firm one day while on a tour, and Hoy went through his routine of shoving his shoulder into the window. That day, however, he must not have known his own strength, because the glass popped out of the window frame. Now, he was right that the glass didn't break, but he still went hurtling down 24 stories to his death. The story became so well known that it was featured on the TV show Mythbusters and 1,000 Ways to Die. It was also featured in a B-movie appropriately named Darwin Awards. Number 7. Faith-healing failure. In 2015, a pastor from Zimbabwe named Shamiso Kanyama claimed that he was gifted with powers from God and that he could heal people. So when 5 men from his town asked for his help to cure a mysterious illness that was plaguing their families, he instructed them to bury him alive. His idea here was that it would allow him to absorb more power from the earth. Kanyama helped the 5 men dig his own grave, and then he laid face down in the dirt without a coffin. He instructed the men to bury him and to dig him up after enough time had passed. Obviously, when they dug him up later, he was dead. Despite the fact that multiple witnesses were there to confirm the story, the 5 men who buried Kanyama alive all faced charges for the pastor's murder. Number 6. Oh, the irony. It seems like common sense that helmet laws are put in place to protect people's lives while riding bicycles and motorcycles. But when you tell most Americans that they need to do something, they consider it to be impeding on their freedoms. Over 550 motorcyclists participated in a rally in New York State in the summer of 2011 to fight for their right to ride without a helmet. One of the protesters, a 55-year-old man named Philip A. Contos, had to slam on the brakes to prevent running into a bike in front of him at the rally, and he lost control of his Harley-Davidson motorcycle. His body was thrown over the handlebars, and he hit the pavement head first. When doctors examined his body at the hospital, they confirmed that if he had been wearing a helmet, he would have lived. Number 5. A full moon. A 25-year-old man named Travis Lane was very drunk and high after spending the night at a house party in Otago Township, New Zealand. A group of friends was standing around a campfire outside, and Lane thought it would be funny to pull his pants down and moon, or give a brown eye to oncoming traffic. Every time he saw a car coming, he would run towards the road, drop his pants, and then walk back to the group by the bonfire. Lane must have thrust his rear end a little bit too close to the highway during one of these stunts because he was hit by oncoming traffic. He suffered a broken arm and a brain injury and was sent to the hospital. He died a month later. The coroner showed no sympathy for Lane, saying he has paid the ultimate price for his foolishness. Number 4. When snakes attack. In one small town in Kentucky, pastors of a Pentecostal church claim that by handling poisonous snakes during their sermons, they are proving that God is protecting them from harm. They have a strict policy that if anyone is ever bitten by a snake, they are not allowed to seek medical attention because God will take care of them. In 2015, one of the pastors, John David Brock, was bitten in the arm by a venomous snake, and he refused to seek medical treatment. Not surprisingly, Brock did not receive the antivenom, and he died. And no, he was not the only pastor to die from this same church either. Despite the obvious flaw in their beliefs, they continue to use deadly snakes during church services. Number 3. Not all fun and games. A 45-year-old schoolteacher named James Young was at Cedar Point Amusement Park in Ohio. He went on the Raptor roller coaster, which twisted and went upside down. His phone and other personal belongings were in his pocket during the ride, and they fell onto the concrete below the tracks. When the ride was over, he did not notify the employees running the ride that he needed to get his phone back. Instead, he chose to jump over a fence into a restricted area and get his phone back himself. He then went on to jump onto the tracks while the roller coaster was still in operation. It rushed by at full speed and killed him. It took roughly 30 minutes for paramedics to arrive, but by then it was already too late. And just a quick PSA here, if you do ever lose anything on a ride, please ask an employee for help. Don't try and do what this idiot did. Number 2. Over the Falls. Niagara Falls is one of the natural wonders of the world that lies on the US-Canada border. It has certainly seen its share of daredevil stunts, and one attempt in 1995 led to a man's death. 39-year-old Robert Overtracker from California traveled all the way to the East Coast to ride a jet ski at high speed over Niagara Falls as a stunt to raise money for homelessness. His plan was to activate a parachute at the last minute and fall to safety. The local police force followed along as he was going on the jet ski, pleading for him to rethink doing the stunt because it was far too dangerous. Unfortunately for him, the parachute never fully activated, and he plummeted to his death in front of a crowd of people. There is no footage of the incident except for one photo taken by an Egyptian tourist at the exact moment he fell off the edge. Number 1. The ancestors were disappointed. A psychic from Thailand named Theprit Pali claimed that he was immortal because he was protected by the spirits of his ancestors. He was a fan favorite for the locals who truly believed that he had incredible powers. Crowds of people would flock to him whenever he did a public performance. During a public ritual, Pali stabbed himself in the chest to prove that he could not die. Not surprisingly, this resulted in the 25-year-old bleeding profusely and later dying at the hospital. This was all part of a rehearsed act that he had done in the past, using a flimsy sword that usually broke when he stabbed his chest. The sword he had used in the latest performance was apparently too strong and pierced the skin. And it turns out that he wasn't immortal after all. Who could have seen that coming? So I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please do subscribe to this channel for brand new videos every day of the week. Also, I've got another channel. It's called Biographics. It's biographies of notable people from the present day as well as history, from Elon Musk to Osama bin Laden. You can check it out through the icon on the screen now. But if you want to watch something else right now, why not check out another TopTenz video or a Biographics video over there on the right. And as always, thank you for watching.